Behind me is Peter Pavlov's lovely Scania R series. Now, it seemed like in the last video you guys loved seeing how we go about doing an install and the different steps and the different things we can do inside the trucks. So today we're going to show you exactly that on Peter's Scania. He's come in for a head unit, full audio system, including a really nice custom back wall. So we'll take you through the process as much as we can. We'll show you as much as we possibly can so you get to see how it's all done and see it really come to life and take shape. So sit back, relax and enjoy, and if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. But before we start, I think we've got to give an honourable mention to Peter's massive set of side pipes on this truck. Look at those, I bet they make some noise. And by the time we finish with this truck, those side pipes won't be the only thing making a lot of noise in this truck. This is going to have a really, really nice sound system in it. So without further ado, let's crack on and start making this truck really start to take shape in terms of audio. There's also becoming a trend in these videos as well. Everyone, I apologise for the noise in the background. There's just, again, so much going on, and there will be a lot going on with this. So, step number one, door cards off. Showed you the door cards off on the next gen in the last video. We'll show you the other side shortly on an R series. This is the stock speaker, an evil oval. Not nice. Needs taken out ASAP and replacing. So, we're going to strip this out, get our custom Trucking Sounds adapter, and fit a much nicer Hertz speaker in there. Don't worry, nothing spooky going on here. So, job number one for me is to get this back wall removed. There's quite a few bits that need unscrewing on it, so I'm going to stick down the camera on the dashboard, see if we can get a decent time lapse on it. But luckily I've got a torch, because without it, it's super, super dark in here. So to get the bunk out, there's some screws underneath here that I've got to remove. We'll remove the gas struts as well, and then that will just lift out and go, which will make the access to the back wall, as I mentioned earlier, so much easier. So before I loosen those bolts off anymore, I just need to get a little screwdriver and nip these struts off. And I'm going to try and leave the struts in the truck, so remove them at the bunk end. And then the last step to do is just finish off removing these bolts. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll come back to you when the bunk is ready to be removed. Everything is removed: clips, the bunk, the shelf on top of that locker, and then all of the grills and lights below that. And I've just gone to pull the back wall out, and it feels a bit resistant. So I thought there must be something holding it in, and upon further inspection, it turns out all of this, and all of that has got to come out, so that will slide up. Of course, it was never going to be that easy. So I'm going to crack on and get those bits out, and then I'll come back to you once the back wall is actually ready for removal. Great news! Great news! What? After a lot of fiddling around and getting all of this taken to bits, the back wall, check this out, has come loose. So I'm just going to get amped down by the door to pass the back wall down to. We're going to try and squeeze it out between the seats, and then the back wall is removed, which means it's ready for retrimming and then it's customization. So now to start the audio, going to get this door card off. Now obviously the one is off the other side, and I did say earlier on in the video that I'd show you how to get this off, so that's what I'm going to do. I think we've already showed you in the video, but we'll show you again anyway. So first off, I've got a 30 Torx down here. Sorry you can't see it. And there we are, that's the door handle disconnected and the R series door card removed. Now before I go inside the truck and do anything more in terms of removal, so getting rid of the head unit, we'll have a look at what Ant's been doing on the doors whilst I've been getting that back wall out. So the custom build process is taking shape. Whereabouts are you at with it at the moment?
So, speaker will sit here. with an LED ring behind it. Customer's logo will be embroidered into here, and then there'll be backlit around there.
So now it's head unit removal time. Now in this truck, we're going to fit one of our double DIN Kenwood head units because they're far better than any single DIN out there. And they've obviously got touchscreen, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, etc, etc. And they deliver a very, very nice clean signal to our aftermarket amplifier to get the most out of our audio system. And I've explained this in a few previous videos. So if you want to go and watch that explanation, have a look at one of our previous videos on installs and it will be in there. On this one, I'm going to explain to you a slightly different process. Now, we'll climb up into the truck and you'll see here a single DIN head unit. This is the standard Scania head unit. Not good. So we're going to get that gone, long gone. But to fit a double DIN head unit, we need this space here. So what we've got to do is move these buttons over to somewhere around here. And you can see those slots are all perfectly sized. By moving them over here, it means that Peter will retain full functionality of his truck. We don't want to take any functionality away because these are all important buttons which all have an important function, but it will also allow him to have a much more modern and more capable double DIN head unit. And there we go, that's the horrendous Scania standard head unit removed. We're going to get this long gone. We don't want that anywhere near this truck now. We've got our wiring and now it's time to move those buttons over and start to adapt the dashboard better for the aftermarket head unit. Now one of Peter's buttons has come loose at the back, which means when you push it, it pushes it through the panel. So we're going to fix that for him because if we're moving them, it would be a bit stingy to not repair it. So we'll bring these around to here. We've just got to do something about this switch, which needs its cap putting on and that won't stay in. So in the meantime, now that we've got those wires through, we can go ahead and refit this tray into this slot just here. And there we have it, that's all those trays sorted out. So like I said, now all I've got to do is just get this switch sorted out and then the bank of switches can go, move my leg, just in there. They were previously obviously here, and then we can clear this space up to make it suitable for our double DIN head unit. Get his switch put back on. And now that switch works and is nice and secure. We can go ahead and put those back in, but this time in their new location. Perfect. Now we'll chop this middle bar out and then it will be all ready to get our double DIN cage in and then double DIN head unit in. So now that we've done all of that inside the cab, the next thing we really need to do is start to get the power wiring in, because without any power to anything, none of what we're installing will work. Now you've probably noticed these lockers are a lot smaller than a Scania Next Gen or a more up-to-date R Series. Some R Series have a larger locker, some have a smaller locker. This has got a far smaller locker, which means we won't be putting 8-inch marine speakers in there. We'll just be putting 6.5s instead. All of our fuses and electrical access is behind these panels here. So next step is to get these off. And there we have it, that's that panel off. 2 fuses have dropped in here. I'm not sure why there's 2 loose fuses lying around. That's never a good sight. So I've just had a quick bit of lunch, and upon returning to the Scania, I've had a bit of a thought. We've got to get power around from the passenger side to this locker on the driver's side. I'm not sure the exact amount of meters that is, however, the longest RCA cable we'll use for a job like this is 5.5 meters, and I'm not 100% sure if our RCA will reach all the way back down from the head unit along and all the way back across the back of the cab. So to solve that issue, I'm going to try and remove the bits below the steering wheel here. We'll get our power from the other side because we've got no choice but to take it from the other side. As I showed you earlier on, that's where all the fuse boxes and all the terminals are. But the rest of the wires from the back of the head unit that we need, I'm going to try and bring them down across here. So we haven't got as far to route them in order for them to reach the locker where the amplifier will be, which is obviously what the head unit will be sending the signal to. So I'm going to have a go at taking all of those bits off, see if that will work, see if that will allow us to put the wiring on, and then I'll come back to you when we've got that all done. Roll the time lapse. Perfecto, that was so much easier than what I thought it was going to be. I remove this sill while I'm at it as well, so I can just crack on with getting the wiring in. We're like cracking on. There's lots of cracking and on-in going on. And do you know what? I just had a thought to myself. Now is a really, really good time to subscribe. So if you haven't already, what are you doing? Press the subscribe button, and while you're there, there's a little notification bell just next to it. Tap that as well, and you'll get a magic notification on your screen every time I upload a video onto the Trucking Sounds YouTube channel, so you can be the first to view it. Don't miss out. Smash that subscribe button now. I mean it. Press the subscribe button. So these RCA cables need to come up to here to where our head unit is going to be. This is going to be how we're going to get signal to the amplifier. When we've got an aftermarket head unit, it's really nice because we've got a proper RCA connection to utilise, which is far cleaner and a much nicer way of doing things. There's another cable that I need to run along with this one, so I'm just going to grab it and we can start to tape it together and route it through all in one rather than having to do the same thing twice. So I've got my length of the other cable, and now that we know we can go through there, I can then start to put that in and I'll run it alongside the RCAs so we're not having to do things twice. However, it's probably going to be a little bit boring for you to watch me just shoving cables through a gap. So instead I thought, while I do that, let's hop over to the trim bench and we'll have a look at starting in the wood room, finishing off and getting those doors ready for trimming, and then we'll have a look at him trimming them as well, and you'll get to see the doorbells come to shape. So whilst I put the cable in, cue the B-roll. And there we have it, those wires are all in, and that piece of trim went on an absolute dream. And all the wires are running, I've got them to where I need them to be. And in the meantime, Ant's obviously been trimming them doors. So the doors are really starting to take shape now. They're looking really good and they're gonna look absolutely mint when they are done. And obviously we'll show you that in the video. But now we've got another bit to do regarding the back wall. Now, as I showed you earlier, the back wall fabric was really starting to peel away. This came off with next to no effort at all. You could literally just pull it like that. So it's come off and we've got to get rid of all of this remaining foam on there. You can see it sort of just comes off at the brush of your foot. It's really, really soft and there's not really much substance to it anymore. Got to get all of that off because then it's smooth and ready to be trimmed. So that just about rounds off today's work on Peter's lovely Scania R series. I've just finished that off by blasting all of the foam off his old back wall. And the reason we have to get rid of that, there's a rule of thumb. If you can feel it, you'll see it. So when it comes to retrimming this, if we can feel that foam, you'll see the dimples and the impact of that through the new trimming. So I've just used a gentle wire brush just to blast that off, hoovered as much of the mess as possible, and then blasted it off with the airline, and you can see it's looking a lot smoother. And then Ant will crack on trimming that while I continue work on the lorry. So we'll see you in the morning. Good morning. So we're back with Peter's lovely R series, and just off camera last night, just after I put down the camera, I actually ran a little bit of RGB lighting cable from inside the cab through into his door. As I realised at the start of the video, I said, we'll get the door card off and we'll put one of our Tracking Sounds adapters in. That's not what we're doing. We're obviously, as you now know, I've seen in the video, doing full custom door card builds. And that means that there's going to be some RGB LED lighting, which will need power. So I ran that cable in off camera as the camera only had 1% battery and wouldn't actually let me record it. However, I've saved the other one for this morning so I can show you guys. So let's have a look. Now, this was a complete oversight by me yesterday because I put the steering column back on when I was running all that wiring in, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to take it back off again. It's not a problem. It wasn't very hard to get off, nor was it very hard to get back on. So I've pulled the grommet out here to make it easier to access, and I've got the cable running through there. We've just got to get that into the door, and then this side through into the cab and along where we ran those cables yesterday, so we can get them up to the centre of the dashboard. So I've now got that cable all back in, all the grommets and all the rubber is plugged back in as it was before I took it out. So I've now just got to get this cable across to there, and then that's this all done. We're all good to go. Now I'm just using this piece of tube to help me pull the wire up through here because it is quite a tight gap and the wire's flimsy, so obviously when you poke it upwards it just drops down in the dashboard. Nice little life hack for you there. If you ever need to get a cable for a tight gap, have a spare bit of tube. But before we go any further with any cabling, let's have a look at those custom doors. It's now time for bass. So I've cleared out the side locker on the driver's side of Peter's Scania, and our subwoofer will drop into here. So I'm just going to work our way around this pipe as well. But we'll go and get the sub, and obviously it's not going to fit through the side locker like it normally would do, say for example in a next gen Scania. So we'll simply get it inside the cab and drop it in the top here, get it all positioned and lined up, and then we can fit that in and stick it down so it stays nice and secure. The subwoofer is now in, the port is all fitted, and that's now all sitting discreetly behind the driver's seat. And obviously once the bunk goes back in and the lid on the locker, that will be completely discreet. You won't even know it's there, other than the custom Trucking Sounds port end. The Kenwood DMX 8021 DABS head unit is also in the truck now. So that's got full wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto functionality, all touchscreen operated, as you can see here. And obviously that's fitted with a nice neat fascia around there, and it takes up that space that we made by moving the switches over to here. So we've now got a double DIN head unit where it used to be a single DIN and switches, but all switches retained just over here. So the amplifier of choice for this install is of course the Hertz Venetia V5C. That's the new 5-channel 24-volt amplifier. So we'll get this amplifier over to the locker, get it unboxed, and I'll talk you through it a little bit and we'll get it installed into the truck. So here it is, the Venetia V5C. Now, as I've mentioned in a few previous videos, this is the amplifier which has superseded the HCP5MD, the previous 24-volt amplifier that we used to use from Hertz. There's been a few changes to this amplifier, but the main thing is power output. Power output is 15 watts greater on the main speaker channel, so the 4 main speaker channels, and it's 220 watts greater on the subwoofer channel. So we've gone from 330 watts to 550 watts. That means that this amplifier, in an install where we want to use 2 of our 10-inch subwoofers, is perfectly capable of driving them really comfortably and making them sound really good. Whereas the previous amplifier could just about do it, but it was a little bit of a stretch and you couldn't get as much out of those subs as what you can out of this. So it will drive a single one absolutely flawlessly, and it will drive 2 really, really well. So when you're choosing your system from us, it's something to consider. If you're going for an amplifier, a Venetia V5C, which means that you'll have a subwoofer in there, why not opt for a second sub? It's so worth it. The bass increase is significant. So I've just spent the last few minutes wiring up the amplifier. We've got power and ground in there, and our remote is ready and connected, which means this amplifier will now turn on when we want it to. I've got the speaker cables just prepped, but they're not in yet, as we've got one more really key thing to do before getting the amplifier all in and speakers plugged in, and that's to oscilloscope it. That's to professionally tune it and set it up so that there's no distortion and that all the gains and crossover points are set correctly on the amplifier. And that's exactly why we recommend bringing it to us here at Trucking Sounds if you're having an amplifier installed. So you join us back a new week, it's Monday, and we've got our power and everything sorted from here. So the first job for me now is to get this panel back on. Then all we've got left to do is the Backwall, which Ant's been working on this morning, while I've been working on a certain YouTuber's truck. The video for that truck will be out shortly after this one. So if you're watching this one now and it's a relatively fresh video, stay tuned because that video is coming very soon. It's a really nice truck. Put in the comments whose truck you think it might be. But let's go have a look at what Ant's been doing with the Backwall, because this is really starting to take shape. There's something very cool to show you on here. So as you can see there, the Backwall is really starting to take shape. Ant's currently cutting a custom panel to go around Peter's pressed logo, which will be pressed in a really nice Alcantara material. So then we can put LED lighting in there to match the doors. Obviously that will be blue, and that glow around the logo will give that logo a really nice shadow. It will make it stand off the panel really nicely, and it will make this truck very recognizable, especially along with those customization panels on the doors. For now, I'm going to go ahead and put that panel back on Peter's footwell in the passenger side to cover up all those wires, and then we can crack on with the Backwall and get this job done. But before I go ahead and put the panel back in Peter's Scania, I've got some important news for you guys. We will be going to Truckfest Newark. Now, a lot of you have seen the Trucking Sounds escort van in the background of our last few videos on YouTube. Lots of progress has been made on that. Our expert fabricator, Simon, has been bringing his genius skills in and building the interior of that van day in, day out for the past few weeks. And it's really started to take shape. It looks incredible. And it's only 2 weeks away from completion. And Truckfest Newark just so happens to be only 2 weeks away. If you haven't already got your Truckfest Newark tickets, make sure you get them. Come along and say hi to us. We're going to have super cool and interesting stand this year. Hopefully the Trucking Sounds Escort van will really steal the show with its 10, 12-inch Hertz SPL show. Subwoofers in the back, they're going to look mega. So make sure you come along, have a listen, get a photo with it, and you might also see the one and only Trucking Sounds fire engine. We'll see you there. So the panel that goes on the back wall is now made. It's got holes cut ready for the speakers with LED rings to go in. The top panel that I mentioned with lighting in is now over the logo, so that logo now has a nice blue glow. We'll show you that once the back wall is in. And we've moved the controls down on the back wall because these controls up here, A, would have got in our way, but B, they just needed to be moved down for that to work and look clean. But they shouldn't interfere with the bed, because obviously when the bed sits in there, it sits along that bit, so they will still be fully accessible just like they were when they were up higher on the back wall. And as I mentioned, Peter Pavlov's logo has been pressed into that Alcantara. It looks really, really cool. And when the lighting goes around there, it'll give it a nice shadow glow, make that stand off the surface more. It's time to get the back wall into Peter Pavlov's Scania. It's finally looking complete. We're going to put it in a few different stages and get it all lined up and in here properly. So now I'm going to get out the truck, help Ant lift it in, and we'll see if we can get it in first try. Oh, look at that. That's good, isn't it? So Peter's back wall is finally fitted in the truck. It took quite a lot of adjustment and fiddling around to get it to sit perfectly in there, but we've done exactly that. It's sat in there perfectly. So we're just letting the glue on these pieces dry, hence the cardboard tubes. This is the safest, old school, but really effective method to make sure that that all dries perfectly flush without one of us having to stand there all day and all night. Next thing to do is to fit speakers up in the speaker locations along with LED rings, and we'll put some protective grills over those as well. But for now, we're just going to avoid this movie style laser trap looking sort of contraption, and then we're going to put in another set of CX165 speakers, the same that are in Peter's door builds. And then this project is pretty much finished. And there we have it. The top bunk's in, bottom bunk is in, all of Peter's belongings are back in the cab, and his back wall is fully assembled. So that's a full sound system and custom back wall in Peter Pavlov's Scania R series. Let's go have one final look at everything now that it's all put together. So to start off with, as you know, we've done custom door panels on Peter's R series. It's got the Hertz CX165s. These are the Cento coaxial speaker, which we commonly use on the Scania trucks. Sounds really, really good. A wicked speaker for the money, that is. And they're covered by nice, clean protective grills and our custom Trucking Sounds LED blue speaker rings behind. And that light is actually coming across quite nicely on camera. It's obviously a bit brighter in person. We've got Peter's custom logo embroidered into this panel. This is also foam backed as well, so it's got a lovely pressed look and feel to it, and LED illumination all around that. If we climb on up into the truck, obviously we've got the custom back wall. Check that out, doesn't that look incredible? We've got his logo again, this time pressed in Alcantara. You can see the nice texture on that, and that's got LED glow around it, which gives this logo a lovely shadow look, makes it really pop and stand off the back wall there. And accompanying that blue glow is further blue glow around the rear speakers. Now, rear infill speakers in cabs make such a difference to the volume. These are so loud, and again, they're Hertz CX165s, such a good speaker. And obviously those lights are on a switch underneath here, so when I click that, they all go off and then they come back on. So that means that if Peter's driving at night and he doesn't want any reflection of this in the windscreen, he can turn them off, but then at the click of a button, you get that full illumination. On the head unit side of things, we've obviously gone for the Kenwood DMX 8021 DABS head unit, wicked doubled in, full touchscreen Apple CarPlay and Android Auto head unit, and that's wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. And in the driver's locker, we've fitted 6.5-inch Hertz Marine speakers. Trucking Sounds logo there, again, pressed on this lovely foam-backed leather. Looks really nice and premium in there. They are super loud for 6.5-inch speakers as well. They sound absolutely wicked, and matching blue glow to match the doors and the back wall in the cab. And hidden under the bunk behind the driver's seat, you'll see the custom Trucking Sounds port just there. We've got one of our 10-inch subwoofers. And that single 10-inch subwoofer sounds absolutely mega in here because it's driven by the Hertz Venetia V5C 24-volt amplifier. That's the amplifier of choice in this system, and that's driving the locker speakers, the doors, the tweeters in the pillars, which I didn't actually end up showing you the install of, as that's relatively straightforward. There's nothing really much to see there. And the rear speakers and the subwoofer. And with that 220 watt increase on the subwoofer channel over our previously used HCP 5MD, that subwoofer sounds really good, can really keep up with the rest of the speakers playing at super high, crystal clear, loud volume. But I will quickly show you the tweeter, the Hertz C26, our most popular choice of tweeter, but Peter wanted those on show, so we've put them on the outer side of the pillar rather than underneath like we normally would, and that's made sure that they look nice and premium up there, visible, a really simple OEM Plus style look, but they sound fantastic, really lifting the soundstage. Now, unfortunately today we don't have time to take a listen at this one, but trust me, it sounds absolutely mega, just like our standard fit install, but with some additional volume, well, a lot of additional volume, thanks to those rear infill speakers. It's quite surprising just how much extra power and volume they add to the sound when you've got speakers directly behind you. But of course, as always, if you would like something like this in your very own truck or van or car, get in contact with us today at Trucking Sounds. Our email is in the description below, and if you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you do so you don't miss out on exciting install videos just like this one. You never know, you could gain a little bit of inspiration for your very own install from us here at Trucking Sounds. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up as well, so we know to create more videos just like this. And obviously, as I said earlier in the video, we'll see you guys at Newark in just a few weeks' time. We're really excited to meet lots of you and show you our brand new project, the Trucking Sounds Escort van, and we're sure you're very excited too, so make sure you don't miss out. And like I say, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and give us a subscribe while you're here if you haven't already. I'm Harry, this is Trucking Sounds. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.